Welcome to Good Heavens with Ryan Evans, your minimum monthly requirement for astrological observation and edification. Welcome to our new Cancer Moon edition, 2026, exact on July 14th at 4:43 a.m. in beautiful Viroqua, Wisconsin. Before we get into the depth, the breadth, the purpose, the meaning, and the reason of the season, here with our new Cancer Moon, it's imperative that we have just a moment to reflect on astrology. La 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 la. Astrology is a bunch of mumbo jumbo. That's right. You heard it here. You want me to say it again? Astrology's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. What are you talking about, dude? Aren't you an astrologer? Or haven't you spent like the last 30 years deeply engaged in this system? Why, yes, I have. But astrology is a bunch of mumbo jumbo. You mean to tell me that there's some magic beam coming from somewhere in the universe filtering through a picture of a crab, coming into the sun and the moon and filtering through them, hitting me and making me feel, act, be, think, do in a particular way? So I went through this disproving stage in astrology where I wasn't going to let anything outside of myself tell me about myself. What is it? Ne te quer sirvas extra. Do not seek yourself outside yourself. And so, what the heck? A planet is making things happen. Just because my phone completely froze up yesterday, right after Mercury stationed retrograde, it does not mean that Mercury froze my phone. I mean, come on. I would be helpless under the influence of these objects. There would be nothing I could do. I would be a helpless, hapless victim. No way, Jose. No, thank you. I will not have some planet control or dictate my existence. No way. So I went through this disproving stage where I'm like, what the heck? What a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Oh, yeah, really? This rock, thousands, if not millions of miles away. Yes, millions of miles away, like has some control over my life. That's so funny. I guess I was preparing myself for all the naysayers, so, I could empathize with them, I guess. And so I began this journey of like, all right, how does this stuff really work? What's really going on here? Are these some magic beams? Or, speaking more Newtonianly, Cartesianly, is there some direct gravitational or electromagnetic influence that is having some sort of relationship with me? So I went that way and I explored that. And it's actually kind of cool when we think about it. The science, okay? Jupiter has 0.006% the gravitational influence on the Earth that the Sun has. There's the biggest planet in the solar system, 0.006%, the gravitational influence on the Earth that the Sun has on the Earth. It's so small. And then we think of like Pluto, way out there, so far away. And is this tiny rock? Let alone some other asteroids. I mean, come on. Then I don't know the actual number, so I'm just guessing, but it's like 0.0000006%. And so, yeah, okay, so there's an influence. Well, wait a second. There's an influence. Okay, so there is an influence. It's really small, but I'm a flower essence practitioner teacher. I understand homeopathy. It's very possible that a very, 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 very small, minute, actual piece of a substance or vibrational tone or quality of a substance can have a really major influence, a really major impact on our being. Well, hey, there's something. So that 0.006% gravitational influence that Jupiter has on us, well, you know what? If we apply, homeopathic, kind of theory, well, then there's some energy there. And then if we're using these homeopathic laws, well, then Pluto, being so much smaller and so much further away, actually has an even greater, quote, influence. But wait a second. That's just on the, gravitational, relationship. That's just on the intricate web of gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear forces, right? I haven't even started talking quantum physics yet. But I will. And so, okay, that's kind of crazy. All right, there's this relationship. All right, I can imagine it, like the solar system. It's this web. We're not just all strings to, connected with the sun, but there's, an interweb of strings. It's a 0.006%, Jupiter has on the Earth, maybe a little more on Mars since it's closer. And then I wonder what the relationship is between Jupiter and Saturn. So, okay, all right, I can kind of see that. I can picture that. If gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear forces, these things that, we can't argue with, kids. These things that are, quote, real, they exist. All right, we can't really argue with those. All right, Rye, I'll give you that. There's this web of interconnectedness. Yeah, it's weak. Yeah, it's, there's not a lot to, really sink your teeth into, 0.006%. I mean, come on. But all right, well, let's understand homeopathy and, that kind of deeper vibration. All right, so there's something there. All right, so now, if you've listened to this, no one can argue with that, right? I mean, you can try, oh, yeah, that's no 0 point whatever percent. Oh, that doesn't matter. Okay, well, you can discount it all you want, but sorry, buddy, it exists. Okay, so we got this web, right? And we're talking electromagnetism, gravity, strong and weak nuclear forces, and we're not even mentioning quantum physics yet. Okay, cool. All right, so there is connection. So we've established that. All right, there is some sort of relationship. There is some sort of conversation going on. Okay, now that's interesting. Now, I wish I had the actual, in fact, had I actually prepared for this podcast, I'd bring up the actual study. But just Google Japanese study on cryptochromes. Okay. And so what they found was that cryptochromes in our mitochondria bioluminesce, give off light, in response to subtle changes in the Earth's electromagnetic field. Okay, this is actually pretty intense. And, again, substantiation. Oh, you can call me, full of poodoo, but just Google it, yo. Google, go search or ask your AI friend or whatever you got to do. Is there any relationship between the human body and the Earth's electromagnetic field? The answer is yes. Yes. In fact, in this one study, they're researching cancer cures. They found that our mitochondria, I believe it's cryptochromes in our mitochondria, give off light based on subtle perturbations in the Earth's electromagnetic field. Okay, so if we, if what I'm saying here is actually substantiated, and yes, I did read the study, but since I can't pull it up right now, you can call me whatever. But do your own research, man. All right, so let's assume that I'm correct. And yep, for all intents and purposes, right here, you're driving, you're listening to this. Yep, he's making an assumption. All right, well, whatever. So let's assume that is correct. Okay, so we humans, and true or false, I mean, just use your intuition. We humans have some sort of connection on a physical level with this electromagnetic field of the Earth. Okay, so little changes in the Earth, in the whole electromagnetic field, has an effect on our freaking body. Okay, now things start to get interesting. Because now, if we, understand electricity and, closed circuitry, I mean, if there's an electromagnetic influence, a gravitational even influence to our electromagnetic field, and we're connected to that field, then theoretically there is a string going from our cells to Jupiter. So that's where things get interesting. Because if I'm correct, then that basically proves that Jupiter affects us. That can basically prove that Pluto has a direct link to us. Is it all starting to become clear now? Are we starting to see, not the meaning, not even on the quantum level, I mean, nothing else. We're not talking vibration, man. We're not talking anything other than physics. And so, if this is all correct and there is an actual electrical link between us and the planets, planet Jupiter, okay, well then we can say even at this little tiny level, there's a connection between us and the planets. Oh, us and the solar system. Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah, you're going to have to kind of expand your imagination and your brain a little bit. But I mean, again, it's science. And science doesn't lie. So again, if I had them, I'd ask my, in-house producers, hey, can you pull up that study, please? But, I'm rocking and rolling here. And, you really want to rock and roll, you're going to continue to listen to 91.9 FM WDRT Viroqua. We got it going on, yo. Radio-free Driftless in the house. Gotta love it. Oh, but I can't see the radio waves. Yeah, well, isn't that interesting? Because, I'm talking here, it's recorded for sure, but, it's broadcast and you're picking it up at your home in your car through your Wi-Fi. Those are lines of connection we can't see, but that actually exist. So we separate from our mother, we're in her energy field, we're in her connectivity to this electrical grid, and we are born and we separate from her field, and we then take on the imprint of the electrical and the gravitational, strong and weak nuclear forces and the quantum field at that time. Welcome to your birth chart, yo. Boom, it's an imprint, those old floppy disks. Right? So, boom, psh, there it is. There's your birth chart. You carry that pattern, the pattern of the way the planets and everything's organized, and the whatever the vibrational angular relationships are between them. Sometimes they're harmonic, sometimes they're frictional, but we take on that imprint. Boom, there's your birth chart. Whoa, Doesn't matter C-section, doesn't matter in a natural birth, home birth, I'm early, I'm late. You separate from your mother's energy field, you take on your own. That's Aries, that's birth, that's me, that's our music that we then play throughout our life. So, that's a little astrology, but let's just go back to just the physics. Boom, there's physics. Well, that sounds like a scientist right there. Well, I'm actually a farmer, so I don't know. Are we scientists? Are we artists? We can do it all. It slices, it dices. You want me to, change the air filter or whatever of that, weed whip? No problem. I digress. So in the proof of astrology, so we've established connection. If we're talking gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear forces, and quantum entanglement, that's where it gets really interesting. But quantum entanglement, all right. There's connection. You can argue with me, but it's like it's science, dude. So if we've got these cryptochromes in our cells and we're connected to the field of the earth, and the field of the earth is connected to everything, well, welcome to the interconnectedness of all things, because our sun is interconnected with all of the other suns and stars in this solar system, all of the different suns in our solar system. Wouldn't that be interesting? All the other suns or stars in our galaxy. Thank you. Well, and all those galaxies might be connected. Okay, now it gets really interesting when we talk superclusters in the universe. We could probably make some kind of case for our body being connected to the universe. Scientifically. So that's pretty cool. When we really think about it. Oh, wow. I'm connected to the Pleiades, man. Yes, you are. So, okay, that's cool. So the interrelationship, the interconnectedness of all things on a level of physics. Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. And where it gets interesting here is understanding the quantum realm. And the quantum realm, very interesting. We humans consider ourselves to have things like consciousness, or if we go that way, soul and spirit. Or at the very least, we can all agree that we have imagination. And one of the defining features of the human being is we have an ability to consider, project, imagine meaning. All right, now we're rocking and rolling. Now what happens if we put meaning onto that electrical grid? Okay, welcome to astrology. Yes, and I mean not to give my entire book out on, the first 20 minutes of my podcast, but that's how it goes. Because in the quantum realm, where the observer has an effect on that which is observed, all we have to do is call a thing thus, and thusly it will be. I'm talking into a microphone. This is what is called a microphone. And there are different words for it in different languages, but when I say microphone, we understand what it is I'm talking about. You don't have to see it, but there is meaning in the word microphone that gives us understanding of what that is without necessarily experiencing it. We've done the same thing with that red thing in the night sky, and red is blood, and red is fire, and red is how my face gets when I get angry. Okay? So red is whatever red is, but when we project meaning onto it, then red becomes all of these things, right? Red fire, or the fire in me. I have fire. How am I? Like fire. Makes sense? That's a quantum realm. That is quantum physics. And, not to get too deep into it, but when we have that imagination and we mix that imagination with that which we observe, wow, then things take on meaning. Now that's really interesting, and that's a whole nother conversation. But let's again assume, as dangerous as that is, but let's just assume that, wow, that works. We can apply or project meaning onto something, and then on some level it becomes that which we call it. So if we call that red planet Mars, and Mars has a definition of all this red, hot, fire, anger, also things like protection and courage and personal power and concerted choice, we project all of this meaning onto that, it becomes that. And then by our projections, well, geez, the universe is reflected back to us. I mean, we have to observe it, project something onto it, then whatever it is responds to us. We have this relationship with it, since we're calling Mars this energy, this entity, and for a while they were gods. I mean, talk about some energy projection. And then we consider the fact that we project this energy on a quantum level, but the quantum level actually affects everything in the 3D. And then there's these electromagnetic and gravitational and strong and weak nuclear forces and quantum entanglement with all of these planets. And then we can see how astrology works. Get it? So I ain't doing anything fancy here. There's nothing magical and mystical about it. There ain't no magic beams coming through that the ancient Greeks had some, mushroom tea that opened them up to things that we humans can't commonly or readily perceive. No, astrology works from quantum physics, yo. And it's on the carrier wave of physical electromagnetic interconnectedness through all things. So don't argue with me. Or, you can try arguing with me, but these are the things I'm going to say. So when we talk about like a new moon, what are we doing? Well, a new moon's going to happen. There's going to be a relative conjunction between the sun and the moon in the sky. It looks like they're going to come to the same place. They're going to fuse together. And so if we have a meaning that we've projected on the sun, and a meaning that we've projected on the moon, and a meaning that we've thusly projected on the conjunction, and a meaning that we've projected onto lunar phase relation and aspectual relation, then there's a meaning that we've projected onto the season of Cancer based on our ancient survival motivations, based on the stories that developed from them, based on the myths and the festivals that grew out of that. And, I don't want to give away too much of my book here. This is all proprietary information, so you're really quite lucky to be listening to this. But this is how astrology works. And so we say Cancer, all right, well, what's the meaning of Cancer? And then we drop into what the season is saying, what the earth is saying, what's happening here on the earth in this season. And since you're listening to this in English, guess what? You're Northern Hemisphere and Western Hemisphere centric. It's your entire cosmology, from your bank account to the, your gas in your car to the work that you do. It's all entwined in this whole mythology, cosmology that is Western, basically Western European, but Western civilizational and Northern Hemispheric centric. Okay, since we're operating with this set of belief patterns and this set of projection of meaning, we understand that in Cancer season, what's happening on the seasons? This is Seasonal Archetypology, trademark Ryan Evans. This is what we're talking about, which is actually the truth of how astrology works and where we get it all. And in Cancer season, what's happening with the corn? What's happening with the sunflowers? What's happening with the oak trees? And what's happening is things are beginning to come into their full manifestation of whatever the intention is of their creation, of their existence. And so when we intend now bringing it into humans, when we intend something, that intention follows the same cycle of growth that says, all right, the intention's got to diversify. We've got to fill it with imagination, possibility, and we take action on that. And then we ground that, diversify, and then it comes into culmination. That's the season of Cancer. And so when we come into a season of culmination, synonymous and resonant with the full moon, we're looking at an opposition. Why? Because we're looking at everything that has come up to now, and then everything that will then recede back to winter solstice. So winter solstice awakens the year. It comes into culmination at summer solstice, when the sun is at the highest place in declination that it can go at sunrise and noonday, aligned with the Tropic of Cancer. And that culmination that it comes up to, boom, all right, there we go. Here you go. Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. And so we're holding everything that has come to existence in our moment, in our life, in the present moment right now. In fact, if you're not driving, if you are driving, just imagine it. But if you're not driving, hold out your left hand, like you're holding a big old softball or something. And in that left hand of that softball you're holding, that's everything that is from winter solstice to now. Okay. As a farmer, that's me wanting to plant, wanting to have a crop, getting all the stuff I need to plant a crop, getting excited and motivated to plant a crop, actually planting the crop, tending the crop, nourishing its growth, doing what I can to keep the pests, the weeds, all blah, 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 everything out, allowing it its growth. And here we are now. There you go. Put that all in your left hand. Now in your right hand, it's a feeling of, all right, now that everything's planted in the garden, now what? Okay, well, everything's planted in the garden. Now I got to tend it, got to continue to pull the weeds out, got to continue to make sure that it's well fed. But theoretically, now, we could have just planted our fall crop of broccoli a few days ago. But theoretically, in the storyline, we planted the corn. The corn is established. Theoretically, it should be at least knee-high by the 4th of July. And here we are, you might be listening to this on the, 12th or something of July. And so that the weed pressure on the corn is significantly reduced. And now it can just, kind of grow. And so in your right hand, imagine now that the crop is in, what we have to do to continue to take care of it in allowing its continued growth, its ripening, and then our harvesting of that crop. Okay? And the harvesting of that crop, what are we going to do with it once we harvest it, and how can we close down the garden, etc. And then we go into winter, so how can we set ourselves up to survive through winter? All that stuff. That's in your right hand. And so the left hand is everything that has been, and we can go all the way back to the beginning of our life. And if we really want to, in our left hand, we can go all the way back to the beginning of our lifetimes. And if we really, really, really want to, we can go all the way back to the beginning, quote unquote, of the universe. But whatever we want about the past, there it is, your left hand. Bigger that softball's starting to get bigger like a beach ball or heavier like a rock. Okay, so there it is. The amalgam, the compendicum, the entirety of the past in one hand. And so here we are now, though. Imagine the heart, human heart. That's the center of our being. Well, it's a little to the left, but imagine that being the center of our being. And that center of our being, that can represent the present moment, our current evolution, our trials, our tribulations, our hopes, our joys, the now. And in the now, we may be blooming, we may be receding, maybe there are weeds that need to be pulled, and maybe everything is just hunky-dory and we're chill. But wherever that is, wherever we are, we're right now. And so that right now thing also has this other extension in this other arm. So in your right hand, now imagine a little softball. And in that in that light and airy softball, now imagine the future. Wherever you are now and what you wish to become or what you need to do or where you're going or what needs care or what we want to hope for, or what we want to develop or what our dreams and wishes and possibilities are. Anything and everything we can imagine about the future, from the ripening tomato of our intention to the growing giant ragweed that we need to be sure to pull out of that, back 40. Whatever it is, there's the future. And that's now, we don't know what it's going to be. I mean, it hasn't been written yet, but we can project our intention into that future, A, of what we want it to be, B, as a result of that which we have planted. Make sense? And everything I'm talking about here is metaphor. Everything I'm talking about here is astrology. Everything I'm talking about here is thanks to WDRT.org 91.9 FM Viroqua. It's awesome. Radio-free Driftless. Love it. Okay, so you got that little visualization, right? You're holding two softballs, and they can be kind of heavy. Oh, in the future, I got all this stuff to do. Oh, Jesus, oh my God, help me, Lord. Whatever. And the past, this trauma and this hell, this horror. Oh, God, thank God I'm not in that anymore. And, for some of us, we could be holding two, burning cinders, and others maybe they're vases of flowers. But whatever it is, in one hand, we've got the past and everything. In the other hand, we have the future and everything. And in the middle of it all, here we are now. Welcome to the archetype of Cancer season. Get it? And so we all have this part of us. We all have this function. We all have this need for being in that center place and giving that past all the love and all the nurturing and all the forgiveness that it needs. What are we going to do? Let it be, continual hell? Oh, I can't change that knife in the back. Oh, I can't. What, am I supposed to just pretend that I didn't shatter my left heel into 20 pieces? What, are you crazy? No, the past existed. Yeah, but this is what we do with the Cancer season and the Cancer archetype. We understand that there's pain there. We understand that there's sorrow there. We understand that there's grief and maybe even anger at whatever it was. But that all of the emotional associations with those past life experiences, are they serving us at all? No. And so what do we need to do? Forgive, allow, release, let go. I mean, all these whatever spiritual things that we can say. But really, what we want to do is we want to not let whatever happened affect where we are now. So we have to be very mindful in our projections and our engagement with our remembering of everything that has occurred in our past to inject as much of our present moment love, kindness, compassion, understanding, and the flow of the universe, whatever we want to call it, to inject as much of that into our perception of that past hell as humanly possible. That's called healing, quote unquote, from the lens of seasonal archetypology. Doesn't mean that it works. Doesn't mean that it's effective. I make no claims or guarantees, but that's the idea. Okay? And so the idea is we look back at those past experiences, we have to love them, and we have to extract what lessons and meanings and purposes, that we can from that. Oh, well, I dodged a bullet there, grazed my ear, but hey, I made it. And we look back on the past, and are we looking at that bullet grazing our ear and the hell of that, or are we looking at the fact that we, quote, made it? And so that's like Cancer healing from the past, or one way to perceive that. And that future, man, again, that's some scary stuff. We don't know maybe we planted some things and they got devoured by the deer. Or maybe we did our best to integrate this life experience into meaning. And, here we are right now. And oh my gosh, there's only so much we can do with what we got. I mean, it's not like I'm going to win a marathon by running if I shattered my left heel into 20 pieces. So looking forward, it's not like I can necessarily project a marathon winning in that, let alone even run a half a mile. But nevertheless, where we are now, and with what we have now, and with the limitations and benefits that we have now, what do we want the future to be? Well, that's Cancer healing too, from the lens of seasonal archetypology, which basically means we make all this stuff up. So what the heck do I know? So we look forward and we say, okay, well, wherever I am now, I don't think I'm going to be running a marathon, but wow, could I do something to increase the health of my cardiovascular system? Yeah, I can. Is that something I'm going to do? Yeah, most definitely. And so I can take my present moment heart in this second right here, and I can project down my arm into that softball. I can project a desire, a willingness, even a joy of becoming. Okay, well, the crop is in. Maybe I had some serious leaf damage in my sunflowers as they were emerging. But hey, right now I can put a fence around those sunflowers, or I can get out there with my BB gun, or what, I can do whatever I need to do to remediate any future impact from those deer. Okay, I can take care of things that will have a ripple effect in the future. That's some Cancer healing too. So welcome to our new moon in Cancer, where it's our job to have this experience, to do this little meditation on everything in our life. Make sense? Oh, my mommy didn't give me attention. Oh, I mean, that can be some serious stuff. I mean, let's face it. I mean, this isn't to discount. So I am doing a little caricature and playing with this, just so you know. Oh, my heel shattered into 20 pieces. Oh, my mommy didn't give me all the incessant affection and attention that, I wanted. Oh, I had to be on food stamps as I raised my children. And I mean, all legitimate. I mean, not like, oh, poor me kind of thing, but real things that may have hurt in our life. Oh, that person stabbed me in the back. Oh, I got that. I know somebody who can say, oh, that person stabbed me in the neck. And I died, and I was dead for an hour. But then I was reborn. Yeah, no denying. Dude got stabbed in the neck and died and was dead for an hour. There's no going back and saying, oh, it's okay. Oh, but this individual that I'm talking about, was he able to forgive the individual who stabbed him in the neck? To a degree, yeah. Most enlightened thing I'd ever heard from any human being. Yeah, all I can do is, just send love and forgiveness back to that person who stabbed me in the neck. Whoa! There's the definition of enlightenment. And so the definition of enlightenment, how can we do that with our life? So one of the intentions that we're looking to really anchor into our being this month, or right now, or when we do this little visualization, or hopefully we do this little visualization as much as humanly possible and in as many times in a day as we need to in order to find that healing, quote unquote, because, I can make no claims on healing. I mean, what the heck does that mean anyways? But can we inject a little more love into those shadow life experiences? Can we extract a little wisdom from having had those life experiences? And no matter if we have had intense, hardcore, traumatic life experiences, what can we do right now in the present moment to right now in the present moment do our best to be in our strength and our power and our happiness? But that's only half of it. The other part of the intention of this new moon is for us to also extend into the future the same love and compassion, forgiveness and understanding. Well, what do you mean forgiveness? I mean, stuff hasn't even happened yet. Yeah, but what we want to do is not take anything from that past, from that other softball, and bring it into ourselves and project it into the future softball. That's not right. They're two different things. And Cancer season, the moon, the heart, that operates as the filter between past and future, depending on what energy and intention we're holding in our heart in any present moment. To understand that conduit and that filter and the importance of the human heart as seen through the Cancer archetype. It's amazing. So what we want to do is have this clear and loving and present of a heart right now as humanly possible, where we filtered out that past stuff in that past softball because it's way over there in our hand. That's down our arm. We don't need to bring that necessarily, the pain, into our heart in the present moment. Because, when we feel a lot of stuff, that's what's happening. But for this little exercise, I should keep it contained in that ball. And so in the future ball there in the right hand, all right, I love my future. Yeah, I might be poor, I might be in pain, I might be sick, I might be taking a knife out of my back here in the present moment. I mean, no denying current reality. My car might be broken down. I might need to take money out of a retirement I don't have to get a new car. What am I going to do? I mean, those can be, and more can be very real, unarguable truths of what could be happening in the present moment in the now, but that even that is not the future. That could develop into the future if we allow it, but for the sake of this exercise, just hold that ball away from the heart a little bit, that the only thing we want to extend down into it is the good stuff we want to see manifest. Make sense? It's not denying the past stuff. It's just not letting it seep into the future stuff. And so in the future stuff, we can have an intention, again, for the love, for the joy, for the whatever, quote unquote, healing, for the nourishment, for the ripened tomato to come to a place where we can harvest it and slice it with a cucumber and some mayo on some delicious toast with some lettuce and have a delicious tomato cucumber sandwich that I just got hungry thinking about. Yeah, but I'm going to put that yumminess, that's in the future. Got it? That's in that ball in the future. maybe I want to do more readings. Maybe there's more people that, want to hear what that crazy Ryan has to say. Maybe in that future, I've got my 5 books finished. Wow, beautiful. They're in there. That's the future. So we got these, one ball in one hand, another softball in another hand. Okay. And now here we are in the present moment, holding on to past and future. They're going in 2 different ways. That's an opposition. They're 2 different things. And we in our center have to balance the weight of the past with the weight of the future. We have to be mindful not to combine them. The last thing maybe some of us want is to have some of our past experiences repeat in the future. No, thank you. And so therefore, what are we going to do? We're going to be in the present moment in our heart. And so for all of us, the intention now, the setting of intention. That's a new moon. That's synonymous with Capricorn. That's the winter solstice. And so winter solstice and Capricorn and new moon, the conjunction, the beginning of a story, these are all the beginnings of a story, the beginnings of a circle, the beginnings of a cycle. And so each new moon, 13 times a year, we have an opportunity, moon, emotions, our heart, our present moment, our feeling and being in the moment. Here we are right now. What do we do with past and future? Our heart, as seen through the projection of Cancer season, our heart is at a new place every new moon, ruler of Cancer, moon, that heart space, the energy behind that which we express out into the world. But that energy of our heart, okay, what's our intention? So then what do we want things to become? How can we allow, encourage, work towards, and let go of ultimately? But how can we set an intention for what we want to see culminate? So the way it works, the math, the science, the art of then seasonal archetypology is understanding that each new moon is like this conjunction. It's like this new beginning. It's like a whole new year, but contained in 1 month. So we get these 13 opportunities to have these intentions cycle through our being. And these intentions that cycle through our being, mostly emotional being, well, our emotions actually set the tone, moon, heart, center, of what the future becomes. And it also helps to heal or remediate our past. It's so awesome. That's why I do these new moon podcasts. Because each new moon is another opportunity to make these amazing, beautiful changes, have these intentions develop in our life. And so what are the intentions that we want to develop in our life, especially over the next month? We want the healthy integration of softball A and softball B. We want to project our love and our forgiveness, healing, whatever those words are, into the past so we don't bring it into the future. And in our future, for our future, we want to imagine the best, the happiest, the safest, the most nourishing future to come into manifestation. So, what is it you want out of life? I mean, not like the bigger, like I want a jet ski, I want a house with, 4.5 cars. That's all fine and dandy. But I'm talking about your life. I'm talking about the storyline of your life. I'm talking about like when we come to the end of our life and we say we want to write our autobiography, that whole story from our birth to our death, that story, that's what I'm talking about. What do you want that story to be? Yeah, we can say, well, it's the story of the guy who had 4 cars. whatever, that's fine. But still, what's the meaning of that story? What do the 4 cars represent? That kind of feeling. So when we can understand that we have an opportunity to have an effect on this story in every moment, boom, that's some empowerment. That's, from one lens, quote unquote, healing. Now, again, I can make no claims. I don't know. I mean, I just make all this stuff up. But what if? What if there were this actual physical connection between us and the rest of the universe? What if? And what if on that electromagnetism, gravity, strong and weak nuclear forces, there's also this quantum level of meaning that we project onto it? Does it have inherent meaning or not? Discuss. But since we've projected the meaning onto this stuff, by our words we will be justified, and our words we will be condemned. Since we have projected meaning onto this stuff, the way the holographic universe works is that stuff out there is reflected back to us. We are infinitely more powerful than we are allowing ourselves to admit, for the most part. We are conscious, creative beings. We can make microphones. We can make radio waves. Wow, what else could we make if we used our imagination in a healthy way? Cluster bombs. No, flowers. Yeah. We can make weapons of mass creation. So, yes, and you can, I was going to say, yeah, you can stop holding the softballs now. But you are an object, a being of mass creation, if you so choose. I mean, if you believe it. If that's an energy or an intention that you can say yes to, and then place that intention, that energy, that yes on the carrier wave of the interconnectedness between you and all things, thusly proven by Ryan today on his little podcast, Ecast. Oh, what then? Are we going to pave paradise and put up a parking lot, or are we going to anchor heaven on earth? I like the latter. That sounds so fun. That sounds like a playground. That sounds like a garden. That sounds like abundance. That sounds like yumminess. That sounds like all we really have to do is not allow our imagination to be limited by thinking it doesn't work. But what if it did work? We would want to set some really good intentions for that future, and we would want to send a bunch of love to the past. Oh, yeah, dude, you have trouble walking on hard floors, but guess what? I love you. Oh, yeah, a person that knifed me in the back or knifed my friend in the throat. Well, I guess we're still here. What did I learn from that experience? Not to expose my back to knives. Or my friend, to be very mindful of how even the slightest little thing that might not necessarily be a trigger for you might be a trigger for somebody else. So we get these little messages, these little clues of, what to not do in the future by looking at the past and saying, oh, but I was a helpless victim. Yet, guess what? I mean, not to be unfeeling or anything, and, I'm talking to myself here. but I'm a helpless victim of those past experiences. Well, you know what? Welcome to the third dimension. People are jerks. Gravity exists. There are sharp objects. Welcome to Saturn. Okay, those hardcore realities of this three-dimensional existence. Oh, I don't want there to be hardcore realities in this three-dimensional existence, said every, crybaby ever. Not to say a sharp object, isn't something to cry about, but where are we now? And again, right now, our current reality, maybe there's a knife in our back. And so current reality, hey man, I couldn't hold either of the past or the future. I'm just in the present moment trying to survive. Yeah, that's a reality too. And even in that reality, how much love can we give it? How much compassion can we have for ourselves that we can't reach that, in my case, that we can't reach that tick in our shoulder blade with either hand, because that wily little creature found just the right spot that I couldn't reach. And then we can't take the tick out. That's scary stuff, and that can happen in the present moment. So we're not even concerned about past or future. I just want to get that tick out of my back. So without discounting current reality, how much love can I inject into the future when, say, that tick is in my back? Well, I can call a friend. I can ask them to help me take it out. I can take it out. I can send it to tickreport.com and have it tested for all sorts of different Lyme and Lyme co-infections, which I did. And thank goodness, this time it came back clear. Whew. Being a past sufferer of Lyme and Babesia, actually, for 7 years, not anything I would recommend. Nevertheless, how can I take that experience of 7 years of hardcore Lyme and co-infections that really messed up my life on some levels, on many levels, actually? How can I even look back at that experience with as much love and compassion and forgiveness as humanly possible? Well, you got that Lyme clear thanks to Beezer and his field control therapy. And so, what can we do? We can love ourselves. We can be in the present moment. We can find forgiveness. We can find our healing. We can inject our energy into that past and say, all right, that happened. How can I love myself right now in the present moment? And also commit to not allowing that past pain be injected into the future. So much work. But when we set our intentions for being in that place in between, where we're in our heart, where if there are weeds to pull out of the garden, we show up for ourselves and we pull the weeds out. And we're not letting the past fear of, or the past, oh God, I've had so many weeds in my life. Oh, here's another. We don't let that past trauma affect us to the best of our ability in the present moment, nor are we projecting that past trauma into the future to the best of our ability, thusly tainting it to a place that we would really rather not have. So when we talk about that elusive, undefinable word healing, quote unquote, which I make no claims that this is about, but if we consider that and use our imagination, play out the story, then it's really important that at this new moon, We set an intention for that healing, whatever that means to you, however that's defined by the AMA, however that's defined by, any psychiatric or psychological associations, etc. We come back into our heart in the present moment, forgive the past, inject as much love into the future. We do that. We listen to WDRT 91.9 FM, WDRT.org, and all is well. Thanks to Terry O'Connor for producing this program. And for more information, please go to ryanevansastrology.com.